And you met Dan Gable. Can you talk a little bit about what it meant to meet someone, an icon of wrestling, and did you know the significance when you met him?
Yeah, so Dan Gable was someone that my brother and I grew up watching. We would actually, my dad would play one of his technique videos on repeat after practices, and we would watch him and Bill Zadek, who's the current men's USA Wrestling head coach, on the little screens in our cars. And so I knew who he was. And my brother, his dream school was actually the University of Iowa, so he wanted to come and wrestle for Dan Gable and the Brands brothers. So I heard his name all the time growing up. My dad also really wanted to meet him because he was a huge fan. So I met him for the first time on my official visit to Iowa, my dad and I, and
How
we were
cool.
both like, wow,
Right.
like he's a legend.
Yeah,
And
no
we
doubt.
shook his hand. And not only that, we were watching a men's wrestling meet, and our coach Chun introduced us to him, and he was talking wrestling strategy with my dad and I as if we were just casual people that he'd already met.
Wow.
And it
Special.
was pretty cool to receive that treatment.
Yeah.
Really intense dude, really intense individual. I think the second time we met him, I was with my team. We took a photo. We went to the Dan Gable Museum actually, and he was watching one of our practices, came over to us and gave us this big hearty speech. Talked about the significance of his statue where he's posing like this, where he's calling a stall warning on his own athlete. And we got but just a really, really intense individual, so passionate about the sport. And you can tell just how much he loves wrestling and being a part of it. And also his support for women's wrestling. He's a huge advocate for women and really appreciates how fast this sport is growing, because women's wrestling is growing at an incredibly rapid speed.